All right, so the demolition of structures in the Bernard Lodge community in St. Catherine has captured the attention of many Jamaicans over the past week. And so we've invited attorney at law Neco Pagon to have a discussion on informal settlements and land disputes. And good morning, sir. Welcome to Smile.
Good morning.
We were
good
having
morning,
such an interesting discussion before you came on. And I think I need to be a little bit concerned personally, but we won't go there. What's going on at Bernard Lodge? Where's the genesis of all of this?
Well, from what I've seen is that the government has a mandate to deal with squatters, to deal with what they call unplanned settlements. And so I believe that this is one step in the government's mandate in dealing with squatter settlements. Before,
Simone, you said squatter settlements, but I hear the people say they paid this man, whoever this man is, for the land. I suspect they thought this man was the person they should pay. Who gets licks for that if it works out that this man is not the man who was supposed to pay? Who gets licks for that?
That's an interesting question, Neville. So the answer to that is simple. In law, they say that the purchaser must beware. What does that mean? It means the obligation is on the purchaser, the person who is buying, to ensure that who they're buying from has the legal right to sell the land. Otherwise, their recourse is against that person.
Is that easy for me to find out that Simone is really the right person I must be buying? Is that easy for me to find out? The person?
In some instances, it may be. So, for instance, lands that are registered under the Registration of Titles Act, the National Land Agency keeps a register of all title owners. It shows as well successively who owned the lands prior to. So you could simply go to the National Land Agency, you could provide them either with the civic address or you could provide them with what is called a volume and folio. And that will now create a document which is called a copy of the title, and you can read that title to ensure that the person who is selling is in fact the person who is named on the title to sell. But then you have instances where there are lands which are not registered.
Like this one?
Well, I do not know whether they're registered or unregistered land. What I do know is that they are for...
Yes, for agriculture?
Agriculture, and I believe they fall under the SCJ, the sugar company. So I would believe that the government would have some title and perhaps registered title to the property.
But not for this purpose.
Well, the purpose is more something that is either listed as a restrictive covenant or if the government has zoned the property for a specific purpose.
Okay.
Because it could be zoned for agriculture, could be zoned for residential development.
This whole story is a tragedy.
It is.
And also a travesty, because in what you've said is the importance and the need for due diligence, which is often not an easy process.
No, it's not.
It takes legal advice, it takes time. This is clearly a situation where folks were taken advantage of.
Indeed.
Folks with aspirations who worked hard to save their money and to do this, but now have no recourse. Is that the case? There's no recourse to be had here?
I wouldn't say that there's no recourse altogether. Interestingly, I would always say find an attorney to assist you whenever purchasing land. It doesn't matter. It could be a small land, it could be a big land. It could be a small purchase of $500,000, or it could be a big purchase of $500 million. Always seek legal representation. Why do I say this? I say this simply because for many persons, the greatest thing that you'll own is a home. There are high emotions, there are excitement. You won't be necessarily wanting to do the due diligence because you want it to work out. You don't want to go and poke the bear and say, oh my God.
You don't want to find out.
You don't necessarily want to find out. Exactly. And that is why it's always good to get independent advice, independent representation to tell you, look, maybe you don't need to go down this road. I've had clients come to me where they're purchasing properties that is unregistered land, or, for instance, purchasing land which the person who is selling has dispossessed the true owner. What do I mean by that? They have occupied the property in excess.
Someone who own it and I squat on it and then I
Yes. Yes.
But it's really Simone one still.
But squatters
On
have rights
paper,
after
on paper it's Simone's, but in truth and reality, it is yours.
Why though? I don't have it by it. It's fair one.
Because what would happen is if Simone sits idle on her land, meaning she does nothing, she doesn't, she sees you, for instance, taking it over,
And I do nothing.
building, and you do nothing. You didn't evict him, you didn't take out
That's squatters'
legal
rights.
proceedings.
It eventually
Squatters'
becomes
rights
his
kick in. And
What if she's paying the property tax every single year, same way? She pay the property tax every year. So it's not like she's not doing anything on the land. Every year she go pay the government her money. I still have that right?
in my view, it's not sufficient because all it requires for you to do, you can pay it from overseas online. And for instance, even if you're paying a mortgage, it can also be
But it don't matter, I'm
dispossessed.
paying it, and it's mine. And I'm asked to pay property tax for the land that I own, and I'm paying that.
And you're asked to exercise some exercise of possession. Because, for instance, there's a social reason for that. Imagine you have your property right here. Then to your left, person has abandoned the property effectively. To your
Bush.
right, abandoned.
Bush.
In front,
Bush.
so you have
Property
security
value gonna-
issues,
Yeah.
the value of the property
Yeah.
has gone
Yeah.
down. So the law has been created in such a way where land should never be just sitting idly.
So let me ask you a question now, Sir Neco.
Yes.
We see the PMP coming out to say they're going to help persons who've been evicted to take legal action.
Yes.
These people actually have a case, and if so, against whom?
So, and again, that is an interesting question because I pause to think about the question. What legal recourse would they have? Now, interestingly, I've heard the throwing around of a word stop order. And naturally, when you hear the word stop order or enforcement order, it means that it's coming from the parish council, normally. And that would serve as an indication or notice to the persons who are developing to stop. There is a legal process to be followed thereafter. So once you receive the notice, then you appeal to the minister. Now, the manner in which this has happened is curious, to say the least. Why? Because the Town and Country Planning Act, where stop orders or enforcement orders are issued, is not necessarily to deal with squatters per se. It's really to deal with unauthorized development. Now, how do you deal with squatter? A squatter, you can go under the Trespass Act, so you can exercise your own right of re-entry once it doesn't pass a year. If it passes a year, now, if you are going to exercise re-entry, you ought to be very careful. It's a self-help. And whenever you're doing self-help remedy, you have to be careful because you ought not to use no more force than is necessary. In this instance, we see demolitions. So the question is, did you use the stop order and enforcement orders to effectively evict the persons? Or did you use it, for instance, to stop unauthorized developments? So everything will boil down to, did the government use or engage the proper process?
Yeah.
One interesting thing is that there is a guideline that is issued by the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation that tells you how you deal with squatters and informal settlement. Because like I've said initially, the government is on a move to deal with squatter settlements and they must deal with it. However, they must do so in a manner that respects human dignity.
Double-barrel question.
Yes.
The first one is, and this might be tough for you, you might not even want to answer it. From where you're sitting, from what you've heard, who must take licks for this?
Well, I must know more
Me
before I'm
cannot
able to
answer.
answer that question.
All right, so that's the first one. The double barrel, the second part of the barrel here is, we've been speaking in a generic way.
Yes.
But do you know who this person is or who this company is that was being paid for these lands?
No, I have not received that information.
Okay.
You trying to get Neco into problem?
No, I'm just trying to get to the bottom of it.
Okay.
I would love to know who this person is first.
Well, there's a name being bandied about, but I guess they have to do all the due diligence
Yes.
before you
Yeah.
make that public, then that's another suit
Yes.
coming at you if
But
you
even though
sully
you
and
didn't
defame.
answer the question, some of the people on the land could take licks for this. Some of the people who have been could take licks for this.
Yes, Neville, but like I said initially, I would have preferred that there be like a public campaign about it, education, town hall meeting about it to say, listen, this is what we intend to do. Get your house in order. There are persons who would have been more than willing to assist. You have NGOs, Food for the Poor, who would have stepped in to assist persons who would not otherwise be able to say, justify their reason for
I feel
remaining
like I saw
on
a
the
clip where the
property.
PM was talking to one of the residents, and he said that letters were sent out or some kind of advisory, and the president was saying, no, we didn't see any of that. So
And that is precisely what I've seen.
lots
as
of
well.
story, lots
Thanks for
more to
coming.
come on the story.
Thanks for coming, and well
Yes.
explained, by the way.
Thank you,
Well
Sir
explained.
Neco, even though I never tried to get into program. Neco Pagon, attorney at law. Where we're going?
Well, we have a chat with a young JP who is ready to serve. I don't know why I'm speaking to her and she have this police officer come and nice.
I didn't ask him to compliment me so nicely. You've never complimented me that nicely.
No, much better.
Ever.
Much better than
What this man
so
said.
come.
The policeman said, I'm going to give you a life sentence for beauty.